Howdy there folks, it's Hunter, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the place of bows in Destiny. How are they meant to be used, how I think Bungie intends for them to be used, and where they belong in the current meta. Now I'm going to go ahead and warn you right now, they don't really belong in the meta at all. They're not meta competitive with anything currently. But besides all that negativity, I just wanted to get that out of the way first. We're going to get into where I think their place is, or where at least Bungie intends for them to be. Now, I think that bows are the kings of peak shooting, and I think that's what Bungie wants them to be. Somewhere between a scout and a hand cannon. You know, a scout will kind of just lane up, they can get as far as they possibly want. And bows technically don't have fall off, so bows can shoot just as far as they want to. But scouts have a greater zoom, and they typically have a lot easier time hitting long range shots. Now granted, precision bows versus lightweight bows, precision bows do have an easier time landing long range shots. But in general, obviously a scout is better at super long ranges, more so than a bow is. That's why I say they belong sort of between bows sort of between scouts and hand cannons. They also are peak oriented like hand cannons. Hand cannons and bows are really the only two, maybe certain pulse rifles, but for the most part, hand cannons and bows are the big two when it comes to peak shotting. And it's a very powerful thing with hand cannons because they can kind of blip in and out of cover and try to throw off the enemy shot patterns. And that's something that you can do with bows too. And in fact, I think it's better with a bow. The reason that I think it's better with a bow, hand cannons have a higher rate of fire. So when hand cannons are shooting, they're going to sit there and they're going to be weaving in and out rather predictably because you've got a set rate of fire. Bows can hold their shots. And so depending on when you decide to peek out is when you're going to peek back out. And it can throw off a lot of enemy shot patterns because what people will do is they'll sit there and they'll just spray at the corner where your head is going to be, and when you're weaving in and out like that, they'll eventually kill you. You know, something like an auto rifle will do that. But bows can throw that off. And the other thing is bows are sort of an ambush weapon. They're a control weapon. They are entirely designed around getting that first shot off, smacking the crap out of them because you hit them in the head for 124 to 128 damage, which is more than half their health, and they're going to immediately freak out, they're going to run, or be an easier cleanup for your teammates, or an easier cleanup for whatever your backup weapon is. And so a lot of people have been upset by that just because you can't really be as aggressive as you used to, and the reason that you used to be able to be super aggressive with bows is because you could double body. You could run in, jump in like a maniac, and you just had to hit them anywhere and it was fine and you would kill them. Since that's no longer the case, you got to be a lot smarter with it. And so, what does that mean? The TTKs are terrible. Even with like Archer's Tempo on a lightweight bow, you're looking at a .975 TTK, which is really not competitive with a lot of the better primary options out there. And so, you have to think about it this way. TTK doesn't matter. Archer's Tempo doesn't matter. Yes, you want the draw speed to still be as high as possible, so Archer's Tempo does matter. But you don't have to have it. So by all means, feel free to use other bows that don't have archers. And we're going to have a whole other discussion about that in another video. Don't want to do that one yet, because that's a whole other thing. But you can kind of just use whatever perks. Try out some new combos. You don't have to feel married to certain ones. You do still want to get your draw time as fast as possible. That's still a good thing to have, just because. Because it'll let your peaks be a little bit quicker. And that's why archers does still help there. So a lot of times it's still going to be kind of a must-have. But it's all about the peaks now. Bows were already the most skilled primary in Crucible, and now especially they're going to really be the most skilled weapon in Crucible. Because you got to have 100% accuracy, you got to hit all your crits, and you got to become the peak god. You've got to be absolutely great at peaking, learn to play your cover, learn good positioning. You basically got to, at all times, not let yourself get put into a bad situation. You've got to use your high burst damage to your advantage, which is the only real remaining strength that bows have is that burst damage. That initial boom, that, oh, well, I just chunked half their health. If somebody else is using a bow, or a high impact pulse rifle, or something else that just does decent damage, they might clean them up pretty much at the same time if you hit them. But you don't have to feel like you're just a support character. Like you're just there to start the damage so that somebody else can finish the kill. The beauty of bows is that if you have the upper hand against a solo target, now you don't want to rush into a big group just because you land one headshot, that would be silly. But if you know there's just one person there, maybe it's the last guy in trials or something like that, and you land that first headshot and they back off, chase them down, go aggro, finish them off, hunt them down and take them out. And that's where I say bow players have to be smarter than everybody else now. You have to play your cover effectively. You have to have fantastic positioning. You have to know when to and when not to push. You got to know when to lane, when to push. Hand cannons, they can lane very well, but they also tend to just push a lot. Most of your sweat lords slide in, jump in, and just go guns blazing with hand cannons. Scout rifle users tend to stay back in lane. They almost never push. That's why bows are in the middle of the two. You can kind of pick and choose, and you've got to be smart and figure out which one of those engagements to take. That is the place of bows. Bows are a more controlling and support style, and they are the peak kings, at least in my book. And I think that's the way Bungie wanted them to be played. You can still get aggro. You're going to see me do some stupid stuff and jump around like an idiot and firing arrows, and you can, by all means, never peek exactly the same angle. You can slide out, jump out, maybe do a double jump, maybe just a hop. I mean, you can take any number of angles to try to throw people off. And there's a lot of flexibility with them because you're not trying to match that set fire rate and get some TTK. Don't worry about TTKs. Don't worry about trying to out TTK other primaries. You need to learn how to outplay them. And that's where bows are sitting right now. As well, this is geared towards non-bow swap styles. This is just if you're maining the bow. Bow swap is definitely, of course, still viable, just as much as it ever was, really. So if you guys are doing that, by all means, there's not much to explain there. Use a high-powered hand cannon, scout, pulse, something like that, in tandem with the bow that you're quickly swapping to finish them off and trying to do it as instantly as possible. That being said, it's been nerfed. The handling and the swap speed from bows to another weapon are still not going to be super competitive TTK-wise. I don't really recommend it. What I do recommend you pairing with your bow is something like a sidearm, an SMG, or a shotgun. Those are my three biggest picks. Sidearms and SMGs are going to be kind of interchangeable, and they're going to dodge having to worry about special ammo, which is great, and they're going to cover your close quarters. And that's what you want to make sure you have with your bow, is something that can help you in close quarters engagements. However, it cannot be overstated that shotguns are incredible. They kind of always have been, and it's nice to have that one shot in your pocket if somebody pushes you. Now, that can be a slug, lightweight, whatever kind of shotgun. It doesn't really matter. Except for rapid fires. I wouldn't really use those. And you could also do something like a rapid fire fusion. That is also a good option. But me personally, I highly, highly recommend sidearms and SMGs, and then after that, shotguns. Just something to pair with it, and that's how you main it. That's pretty much all I can think about as far as where they are now. I know this is sort of a rough rant here. You can see I'm just sitting here in front of these freaking double doors. But I just kind of wanted to pop a squat and chill and talk about what I think they are now, where they sit, and how to play them. I'm going to have a couple more videos coming up here in the near future. I can't say exactly when. Just depends on when I get around to them. One of them is going to be just a discussion on archers, kind of touch on that a little bit more about how you really don't need it. And then the other one is going to be Volume 2 of my definitive bow guide. I think it's about time that we went ahead and redid that, especially with the massive changes that bows have undergone recently. I think that the old one I have is still great, but parts of it are going to be outdated, so we want to touch up on that and just to try to help guide you guys in the right place and maybe give you some winning setups so that you can enjoy this fun weapon archetype a little bit more. But anyways, folks, thanks for watching. I hope you find this helpful, and I hope that this maybe enlightens you on the current state of bows. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend.